Welcome to Channel's Business Global with me, Juliana Olayinka, from our studios here in London. Coming up on today's show, A-level results are finally out for young people studying in England and Wales, and with universities across this country facing a significant squeeze to their funding, establishments are encouraging philanthropists to invest in their institutions. Shortly, I'll be throwing back to an interview I conducted with the founder and chairman of the Bois Group, Abdul Samad Rabiu, during his attendance at Oxford University's Africa conference earlier in the year, and days after delivering a keynote address at the Wemabod Real Estate Investment Roadshow in the British capital, Otunba Ashiru, the chairman of the Oduwa Investment Company and the former Commissioner for Commerce and Industry in Ogun State, joined me here in our London studios for a wide-ranging discussion covering Niger, diaspora investment and his hopes for President Tinubu's administration. Then later, the Jack Ma Foundation and Alibaba's philanthropy startup competition, Africa Business Heroes, is back for a fifth year, and I'll be speaking with one of the lucky finalists, Dr. Funmi Adewara, the founder and CEO of Mobi Health International. Dr. Funmi will be joining me from Lagos. But first, former US President Barack Obama has joined several other high-profile figures urging members of the public to donate aid to those affected by the wildfires in Hawaii. According to State Governor Josh Green, the region has lost an estimated $5.6 billion in damages. Amid wild conspiracy theories about the genesis of the blaze, Governor Green has said he would consider a temporary ban on sales of properties damaged in the blaze. The historic seaside town of Maui has been facing a serious housing crunch and unaffordable prices before being hit by the deadliest fire in America in over a century. Nigeria's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has named Wale Edun as finance minister after previously serving as his senior advisor on monetary policy. Edun is the former chair of the investment bank Chapel Hill Denham Group and has played a key role in shifting the new administration away from the unorthodox policy making under the central bank's suspended governor Godwin Emefiele. Edun will be tasked with boosting government revenues, which are among the lowest in the world as a proportion of the economy. Last weekend, the Oduwa Investment Group hosted a real estate roadshow alongside its flagship property business, Wemabod Limited. The company has worked tirelessly to position themselves as the go-to firm for Nigerians across the world who are keen to invest in the Nigerian property market. The network has a property portfolio in excess of $150 million and is chaired by Otunba Ashiru. The esteemed businessman was a two-term Commissioner for Commerce and Industry in Ogun State between 2011 and 2018. Before departing the capital, he stopped by for a discussion. Otunba Ashiru, it's a pleasure having you in the Channel's Business Global studio today.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, sir. I think given your geopolitical expertise, it's only right that we start our discussion with the ongoing situation in Niger. It's dominated headlines, not just in Africa, but actually across the West, even in London, where we are. There has been some developments, but can you just explain your thoughts on the matter?
Well, it's a very funny world. If you notice that the countries in West Africa that have been ruled by the military, they're actually Francophone countries. And coup d'etat is a French language. So it's a funny thing that when you say junta, the junta or whatever it is, they actually use Spanish word. So it's a funny thing that what I found out is that I can tell you, I don't think they are going to have a military attack. I can tell you that because there's a lot of negotiation going on now. And the head of the junta now has actually agreed to have dialogue, which is a very good and positive way. Because let me be honest with you, we don't want something like Ukraine. That is what is having problems, causing problems in the world now. So the point is this: Niger is very important to Nigeria too, because we share borders, and at the same time, there is need to resolve issues and amicably. And that is, you see, it's just like the cane. You want to beat your child, that if you do this, I will beat you, and you see that the child is resisting. That you now wonder what is going on here. But they now found out that look, if they continue with this, there's going to be a problem for them. And let's be honest with ourselves. I listened to the president of Sierra Leone, and he said they've learned their lessons because most of these military leaders, most of these head of states, they came in through coup, which is very wrong. And I think I listened to Femi Falana, the son. He said something. He said, now ECOWAS must plan, or even in Africa, that look, no leader should spend more than 8 years, which we have in Nigeria, democracy. And once we have that, some of these leaders that we're talking, they've been there for 20 years. So some of them have actually perpetuated themselves. They've even handed over to their children. And this is not a royal family thing. This is democracy. So I can tell you that with the way things are going, I believe that there are going to be a nice resolution to it. But one problem, I listened to someone on channels last night, your political analyst, he said something. Said it's a win-win situation. There are few questions. Now, even if he hands over to the former president, the president, then who's going to protect him? Because it's the presidential guard head of that is, holding him to ransom. Then even if the end of junta, if he hands over, then who's going to protect him? So they have a problem. So I think it should be a proper dialogue where they will look at things amicably, because you can only see the beginning of war. You don't see the end of war. And many things will, look at Ukraine war. We never believed that it would get over a year now. The whole world is suffering for it. So I pray that the head of junta will listen. And he has, see so many prominent people, elder statesmen going out, and he has agreed to meet with them. So I believe, my own God sense told me that there might not be war. There might probably be a dialogue, amicable way of resolving it, and the resolution will be sorted out once and for all.
Thank you very much for that. So we're going to pick up on some of those points where we discuss President
Yes.
Tinubu later. But let's talk about why you are in London. I was at your event on Saturday, a very nice outing. Talk to me about Wema Board, Odua Investment Group, which you are the chair.
I will tell you this. Odua Investment is a large conglomerate that was established by our elder statesman, Chief Obafemi Awolowo and his team. And the purpose of Odua is to have a one-stop shop, whereby you have, they are into real estate, manufacturing, hospitality, medicals, and all sorts of, which was a good strategy. And that was how they birthed, Elephant Cement, that came into my Blue Elephant in London here. They came in here, Chief Awolowo came in here, negotiated and brought them back to Nigeria. And they came to Nigeria. That's how they established Elephant Cement in Nigeria. And you manufacture cement. And it was established in Ogun State, because Ogun State has the largest limestone deposit in Nigeria, in Africa. And don't be surprised, they've been in Nigeria for over 50, almost 60 years, over 60 years now. And what I'm trying to tell you is this. Now, because they're into real estate, you can see that Cocoa House is from this Elephant Cement. The funds that was realized during the manufacturing of production of cocoa, that's what was used to build Cocoa House, and that's what's University of Ife and all sorts of. So now you have the cocoa, the Elephant Cement. Then you need Nigerite that does the roofing sheet. Then they have Tower Aluminium, many organizations, banks, Wema Bank. So those things were there. And the point is that I don't know what happened, maybe through the military rule and everything. That's why we don't want military again. They didn't understand the basis. And I'm happy to tell you that Lagos State has joined now. There are 6 states in Southwest that are members of Odua Group, which is a good thing. And like I mentioned, Odua Group is owned by the 4th largest economy in Africa. Those 6 states, they are the body. So the point is this. The reason why we're here is to ensure that we have Nigerians in diaspora. We've started this happened, we've done America, USA, they've done Canada about 2 weeks ago, met with the High Commissioner, and encouraging them to see people will come back home, eventually settle back home. But you see, many people have been burned. And how? They send money to Nigeria for someone, to buy land, build this. You see, they will sending pictures to you. Probably they claim they are building a property for you here. They are taking picture of one property and nothing is there. I saw something on social media whereby somebody has spent millions of naira, and she came back home. She didn't see anything. That was her junior brother or senior brother was doing. So what we're trying to do is to ensure that you are talking to the right person. And that's the reason why the board, the MD, the board of Wema Board came over here. Because the guys, the Westling guys that came to Nigeria, that was the success story, and that was the video I showed. Yeah. That the guy, when the former vice president was going around to woo Nigerians in diaspora to come back home and come and settle, establish business. And the young guy met the vice president and said, "Don't come back home." The guy came in. For the first few months, it was burned, wasted money. But eventually met with the group MD of Odua and said, "Look, come, we can do business together." Yeah. And they got the land in Alakia. And today, it's a success story.
Wow.
They've built over 60 houses unit, which was the first phase was commissioned by the former vice president, and he was happy that, look, this is a success story. And Nigerians, so what we're trying to showcase is that you can come in here once you talk to the right caliber of people, and let's be honest with ourselves, Odua Group, Wema Board, which is a subsidiary of Odua, they have pedigree. These are organizations that have reputation. Apparently, Wema Board was just, they did the rating, and they are A.
Wow. Of course, I've got to ask you about the new administration and whether or not President Tinubu has knocked on your door for your expertise. Of course, I know there is so much advice you can give to the upcoming administration. The cabinet is being sworn in as we speak. What are your hopes? What is the current dialogue? Are you coming back into government?
Well, I don't know about that, but I can tell you that President Tinubu is starting on the right footing. And I'll be honest with you, he's a man that has passion to succeed. When he was governor of Lagos State, you could see what he did. He brought in the right caliber of people to run the show, and he succeeded. Moving the IGR of the state. Yes, federal level, I'm sure. What I've seen is that we should give him time, because let's be honest with ourselves. I remember vividly in 2015, it took the president almost 6 months to constitute his cabinet.
Yeah.
And he cannot run this show alone. He has to have ministers that are going to be in charge. So we should be patient. He said something. He said, don't pity me. I know the magnitude of what I'm going through, the difficulty there, but I believe he's going to survive. I met with him, I can see someone who is very passionate about this country. He means well for the country, and we just need to be, you see, when...
Things are difficult right now.
Yes, as a leader. So I remember General Babangida, President Buhari, when they took over in 1983, he said something. He said, do not be deceived, because things were difficult in Nigeria then. He said, do not be deceived that we will turn around this thing within a few days. It's not possible. These are things that have been messed up. You could see he sent somebody to CBN to go and investigate what is happening. And you started hearing a few things that are coming out there. So there are so many problems that are hidden here and there. Until the ministers get to their ministries and see all the bad things that, and you see, like I always tell people, you can only run the show to the best of your ability. And it is characterized in an individual that will determine the way you run your show. So for General Buhari, President Buhari, he's done it to the best of his ability. So now, President Bola Tinubu is starting very well. So we have to be patient with him, because the rot is there. So now he has to start trying to move. See, you see, it's a tough thing to rule Nigeria.
It's certainly a tough job, though he did say he cried out for it, didn't he?
He said it.
So yes, we're not going to pity him.
He said he has for the job, don't pity me. But at the same time, we are human. He's human too.
Yeah.
We must sympathize with him, because what is on ground is enormous, and it's not as easy as we think.
It is absolutely enormous. It's some really great insights from you now. I've got to ask, although I did say it was the last question, this is the final question about Odua and how people can get involved. As you said, you've had loads of calls. I've also had loads of calls since your investment.
What we're trying to do, I just phoned the GMD when I was coming and the MD of. So what we're going to do is that we're going to set up a desk that people will be talking to directly, and be rest assured that we will not. I mentioned it. I said we're not going to promise what we're not going to deliver. And to me, integrity matters a lot. And be rest assured that people will not come and invest in Nigeria and regret it. And that's the reason why we put everything on the table. We stated these are the things that we were going to do it, and that is it. And that is the most important thing. And like I always tell people, it's an opportunity for them now because of the rate of exchange. But it's not going to be like that forever.
Yes.
Things will definitely improve. Like I always tell people, Nigeria has no business being an import-dependent economy. We should be exporting, and by the time we export, we bring in foreign direct investment. Funds are coming in. You now see investors coming in. Rate of exchange will improve, and things will get better. But I believe that Nigeria will still get better.
I think that's a great note to end it on. Otunba Ashiru, Chairman, Odua Group. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, Juliana, for having me.
Thank you.
And thanks for your support.
Thank you.
God bless.
Coming up on Channel's Business Global, the Jack Ma Foundation and Alibaba's philanthropy startup competition, Africa Business Heroes, is back for a 5th year. And I'll be speaking with one of the lucky finalists, Dr. Funmi Adewara, the founder and CEO of Mobi Health International, and Nina Skiro, the chief executive of the Centre for Economics and Business Research, will be joining me here in the studio for a temperature check on the British economy. All of this after the break. Do stay with us. Welcome back to Channel's Business Global with me, Juliana Olayinka, from our studios here in London. On Wednesday, the Office for National Statistics said consumer price index inflation was 6.8% in July. This is down from 7.9% in June. It's the lowest rate since February 2022 and is understood to be due to a fall in energy prices. Well, despite this positive trajectory, economists have warned that the UK faces a very real risk of recession due to higher interest rates. For further insight, I was earlier joined in the studio by Nina Skiro, the Chief Executive of the Centre for Economics and Business Research. Nina Skiro, it's an absolute pleasure having you in the Channel's Business Global studio today. So it's been a busy week for the Office for National Statistics. There have been a slew of economic data. We've had labour market data on Tuesday, the all-important CBI data yesterday. What kind of indicators are these in terms of describing the state of the UK economy?
I think it's been a little bit of a mixed bag in terms of both of those big releases that you mentioned, labor market and inflation. So on the labor market, we saw unemployment rate going up, so probably some first signs of the economy and particularly the labor market tightness easing. But then on the other hand, historically speaking, the labor market is really not in too bad of shape. So again, a little bit of a mixed bag, I would say, and something which could be good or bad news depending on who you ask is that wages are rising quite rapidly. So if you're one of those people enjoying a sharp pay increase, you will probably think that's good news. If you're sitting at the Bank of England and wondering what this means for prices rising, you're probably not going to be happy that wages are still rising so rapidly. And then on inflation, so there was a big drop in the headline rate, but I wouldn't want to say that it was a particularly good release because all that entire drop in the inflation rate really came to what's happening in the energy prices. And there are signs that inflation is proving sticky if you look at the core inflation, which strips back those energy prices, and also services inflation is still quite high.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right. I suppose for Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, he's quite delighted because he pledged at the beginning of the year to bring inflation down to half, and it does appear as if we're going there, albeit slowly. Of course, lots of talk about Andrew Bailey, the Bank of England, whether they're going to remain with their hawkish stance on interest rates. Do you expect the Monetary Policy Committee, when they gather next month, to hike it further?
It's very likely, and I do expect to see a 25 basis point hike next month, and then probably another one before the end of the year, which would bring the bank rate to 5.75%. And then I think we'll see it stay at that level sort of into spring of next year before gradually being cut down. But I definitely think, frankly, even before these releases from this week, we were probably going to see a bank rise at next month's meeting. I think now it's probably solidified that, particularly the core and services inflation figures.
Nina Skiro, Chief Executive at the Centre for Economics and Business Research. Thank you so much for your insights.
Thank you for having me.
The Jack Ma Foundation's philanthropic programme, Africa's Business Heroes competition, has just launched its 5th annual edition as part of a continued commitment to inspire and support African entrepreneurs with a yearly shared grant of $1.5 million intended to boost entrepreneurship across the continent. Dr. Funmi Adewara, the CEO and founder of Mobi Health International, is one of the lucky finalists, and she joins me now from Lagos. Dr. Funmi Adewara, it's an absolute pleasure speaking with you on Channel's Business Global. And can I just say congratulations? I was so proud when I heard of the fact that you managed to beat hundreds of thousands of people to make it into the finals. Now, the ultimate mission of Africa Business Heroes is to showcase and grow local talent who have been creating a positive impact among their communities and, of course, beyond. Can you talk to us, please, about the work that you've been overseeing at Mobi Health International?
Thank you very much, Juliana. I'm very pleased and honored to be here. Yes, it's been very exciting to learn that I made the top 20 of the Africa Business Hero. It's definitely a validation of our business model and what we've been doing in Mobi Health over the last 3 years since we launched commercially. So our platform essentially is tackling the massive brain drain and shortage of doctors across the continent. It's an integrated telehealth platform that allows anyone in Africa to connect with doctors anywhere in the world. And that enables them to get access to genuine medication, prescription, diagnostic tests, and other preventative resources. And so it's been an exciting time, especially post-COVID. Thanks to COVID-19 pandemic, people are now warming up to telemedicine, which just means using modern day technology to provide clinical care to patients remotely, especially those in rural, hard-to-reach areas. So our platform is a web application and a mobile application, but we also have a hybrid of a solar-powered telehealth clinic that allows the user, those in the rural areas, without digital skill, without access to, without the capital to be able to go into the telehealth clinic and access doctors, both in Nigeria, within their local environment and outside that. So that's the impact that we are trying to make, and we're very excited to be part of it.
Of course, I've got to ask about, what your hopes are for the competition. Obviously, I think that's a silly question. I know it's taking place in Rwanda this year. What are the next steps? How can we follow your story?
Well, I'm looking forward to leveraging on all the opportunities that the ABH community presents. I'm looking forward to bringing the prize home. I'm the only Nigerian woman on the top 20. So I hope I can bring it back like Temi did a few years ago. But I'm hoping to leverage on the masterclasses, connecting with investors and other fellow entrepreneurs who we probably can work together as well.
Well, we're all rooting for you. I'm so proud of you. You're an inspiration to all of us. And it's nice to be able to get you back on set, because I have been trying and struggling for a few years. But Dr. Funmi Adewara, founder and CEO of Mobi Health International, and of course, finalist at the Jack Ma Foundation's Africa Business Heroes. We're rooting for you. Thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you. Thank you.
A-level results are finally out for young people studying in England and Wales, but with universities across this country facing a significant squeeze to their funding, establishments are encouraging philanthropists to invest in their institutions. Earlier in the year, I caught up with one of those generous individuals on his visit to Oxford University for their annual Africa conference. Abdul Samad Rabiu is the founder and chairman of the Bois Group.
As you said, you're right. There's quite a lot of talk, and nothing really gets done. However, if you look at some of, the countries that are really working hard and some of the businesses that are really trying to do a lot more, trying to add value to the resources that we have, you see that there has been quite a lot of progress. In recent years, a lot has been achieved. If you look at Nigeria, for example, and one of the reasons why I'm passionate about this kind of events is the fact that a lot of people come together and we discuss and see how we can, as I said, try and do a lot more. And the opportunities are there. So if you look at Nigeria, for example, today, and I'm going to talk a bit about, my business in Nigeria, the cement industry in Nigeria, and one of our companies is actually doing quite a lot there. 20 years ago, Nigeria was importing almost 90% of the cement that, we were consuming. Today, Nigeria is producing over 40 million tons of cement. And that is simply because, some of us decided that, look, we have these resources. Let's try as much as possible to see how we can harness some of these resources. Nigeria is sitting on billions of tons of limestone, which is the key raw material used in producing cement. And I'm happy to say that I have actually been able to, partner with some of our colleagues to be able to set up cement plants in Nigeria that are producing almost 12 to 13 million tons per annum today. Our company is listed with a market cap of almost $6 billion, created tens of thousands of jobs, impacting the communities in a positive way, and at the same time saving Nigeria billions of dollars annually. Look at all the opportunities. Look at all the resources that we have in Africa. Yet, nobody talks about those things. We only talk about the negative. So I think it is important for us to actually come so that people understand the potentials that we have in Africa. It's so key, so important. Hence the reason why, if you see a lot of the things that we do, we just want to do them in Africa because, everything is there. We really don't need to do much. So yes, it is important for us to really bring everybody, carry everybody along so that everybody understands and appreciates what we have and what we can do.
Sadly, that's all we have time for today, but as always, do get in touch with your comments and suggestions. I'll see you at the same time next week for more in-depth business analysis on Channel's Business Global. Goodbye.